So you join me in mid-June and apparently summer is in full swing. Now there's two species that are synonymous with summer fishing for me, crucian carp and tench. I got my crucian carp fix a few weeks ago, so today it's time to try and catch some tench. I've come all the way to Hibaldstow Lakes in North Lincolnshire. Hibaldstow is a day ticket lake open to anyone. Anyone can turn up and fish it on the day. It's an old quarry of about 17 acres, but with the flood water that we've experienced in Lincolnshire recently, it's currently sat at about 22 acres, with some of the areas unreachable due to those floods. Its depth's down to about 14-15 feet and the stock is unknown. Estimated a couple of thousand tench and an unknown carp stock. Other species that are in here all grow to phenomenal sizes with perch, rudd and roach all over 3 pounds. Overall, a really good mixed fishery and a great place to enjoy some tench. A variety of methods can be used here. The margins offer some great waggler or slider fishing sport, but the majority of people here target the deeper water on a variety of feeders. And that's what I'm going to do today. Keep it simple, fish on the deck in that deeper water on a feeder. The hardware that I've gone for today is the 11-foot Vertex method feeder rod and a 4,000 size Vertex reel. I've coupled this with a 12-pound acolyte braid, and I've done this for a number of reasons. One, fishery rules, and two, the situation that's out in front of me. So fishery rules state a minimum of 10-pound line, and there's also some savage weed beds out in front. The beefier rod and the braided mainline will help me get those tench back in from those spots. An added benefit of fishing with the braid when fishing spots in amongst the weed is because it has no stretch. When your feeder touches down, you can immediately tell whether you've landed on your clear spot or fallen short into the weed around it. Today, I'll be using 3 different types of feeders. A conventional flatbed method with a mould, a pellet bomb, and a pellet method. Now, whilst the pellet method is predominantly used with pellets for carp and F1s, I've got a few friends that have been using it with ground bait for species like tench and crucians and having some great success. And so I'm keen to give it a go and see how it works for me. One of the big benefits of the pellet method on today's session is where I'm spot fishing in between the weed beds is that a pellet method drops all your feed upon the retrieve. So the bait will stay on the spot rather than dispersing into the weed and spreading the fish all around the area. I can concentrate them on one area where my hook bait is. So once you've made a cast and placed the rod on the rests, you need to take the line out of the clip. Should you catch a fish or want to make a recast, there's a number of ways that you can ensure the line goes back into the clip at the right distance. Number one, you could just jump off the box, run to your wrapping sticks and wrap back up to your pre-designated number of wraps. Or secondly, you can use a line marker. So using a line marker, with the line in the clip at the correct distance, you just place a white or whatever colour the pen is, marker on the line. When it comes to recasting, you put the white mark back in the same position and in the clip and reel back in. This will ensure that every single cast you make lands on the same spot. I bought a variety of hook baits with me. I've got the pink, yellow and white artificial corn from ESP. I've got some washed out pink wafters and I've got some homemade pink pop-ups. Now the reason I bought these with me is because on any given day, tench will show a preference for different colours. So I can chop and change between the white, the yellow, the pink, and try and work out what the colour of the day is. Also, by having a little bit of buoyancy in the hook bait, when the fish home in on the method feeder, suck up the ground bait, the buoyant hook bait is often the first piece that flies back into the fish's mouth. To kickstart today's session, I wanted to introduce a hit of bait to try and localise the tench on my spot. Now, there's a number of ways you can do this. If you're a carp angler and you have the equipment, you can use a spod or a spom, or you can use a large feeder and just make repeated casts. The mix that I went for today is a bit of ground bait, a pint of hemp and some pellet. I've chosen this mix because I want to create a carpet of bait on the lake bed that will keep the fish grubbing around. Due to the depth, I've added that ground bait so I can mould it into balls and plummet it down through that 12 to 14 foot of water and then break down once it's reached the bottom. As I've decided to use ground bait on the feeder, it's important to use a feeder like the method bomb or the pellet method with raised sides that's going to protect the ground bait from impact with the water and then falling through those depths of 12 to 14 feet. Other feeders, a lot of that bait would escape before your feeder reaches the bottom. Rigs today I've kept really simple. Regardless of the hook bait or feeder choice, I've gone for 3 inches of gravel braid through to a size 12 specimen plus hook. This is plenty strong enough to deal with the size of tench and the weed out in front of me. I use such a short hook length when I'm method fishing for a couple of reasons. It keeps the hook bait in close proximity to the feeder, so as the ground bait breaks down, the hook bait sits inside it, and also when the fish picks up the hook bait, it comes into immediate contact with the weight of the feeder and automatically hooks itself. Due to the artificial baits being incredibly buoyant, they are going to need some sort of anchor to keep them pinned in close proximity to the feeder. Today, depending on the size of bait that I've used anything from a number 8 stots all the way through to a number 4, and I will test them in the edge before each rig change. So I've come to the end of an incredible day's tench fishing. I've caught loads more fish than I was expecting. Really good stamp, averaging 3 to 5 pounds with a load of fish over 6 pounds. If you want to catch your first tench or just have a great day's sport, Hibaldstow Lake is the place for you.